Are you still using multiple pipelines to stay organized? Well, here's why the most efficient firms are switching to one streamlined tax prep pipeline and why they're getting better results with less chaos. So let's dig into it. Hi, I'm Jamie Gruol, and I am the co-founder of Workflows for Tax Pros, where we help small tax practices implement the Workflows for Tax Pros method into their TaxDome system to create freedom, profitability, and not have to hire so many people to get the work done. Because right now, hiring is not so easy, right? If we haven't had the chance to meet yet, I'm Jamie Gruol, and after helping over 500 tax and accounting practices implement automation with TaxDome, I can confidently say that automation is the only way to increase your profit and time freedom in your practice. So, what I wanted to talk to you about today is answering this question of why does having multiple pipelines slow you down and make you less efficient as a practice? And I want to show you why our Workflows for Tax Pros methods are actually transforming small practices across the country and even the world. So let's dig into it. So here I am in my TaxDome system, and I am looking at my pipeline template list. So if I scroll all the way up, here is my tax prep stack that I have. In a normal situation, when you have multiple pipelines, you're actually just diluting the information that you have available to you and your team. And what that can result in is inefficient communications, lack of ability to keep track and statuses on all of your clients, and also probably slowing you down when it comes to actually getting the work done. So, what we have heard from a lot of tax practitioners is that when they're building out their pipelines, in a way of keeping things simple, they will build out these multiple pipelines, all of the same workflow, because the workflow for all of these clients is the same. The difference is that there's often different communication timings that need to happen, different dates that need to go into these communications with their clients. And so they think that the fastest, best solution is to create multiple pipelines. But what they're not thinking about when they're doing that is that when it comes to actually executing on the work that you need to get done, in order to see where all of your clients are at, you have to go into each and every pipeline. Now, there are other ways of seeing things in a list view over here in our workflows list, and that can make it a list, but I'm a very visual person. I don't know about you, but for me, I love to be able to go into one place and see what is happening for all of my clients and know that they're exactly where they're supposed to be in the process. Nobody's fallen in any cracks, and myself and my team, they're fully aware of what's going on. And what I want to share with you today is why having one pipeline is the way to go when it comes to running a streamlined, efficient practice during tax season that leaves you confident that all of your clients are being serviced in the way that you expect for them to be serviced, and that you and your team are staying on top of the work that you need to get done yourselves. So let's dig in, and I want to show you using our tax prep pipeline. Now, this is the signature workflow from Workflows for Tax Pros, where we have worked with over 1,000 practices to create this pipeline that leverages TaxDome automation and make sure that you are fully automating all the things that you're possibly doing manually today. And so in this pipeline, what we have done is we can actually service all of our clients in TaxDome thanks to conditional logic. Now, conditional logic is the use of tags on a client account that allow us to tell the TaxDome system when and what we want it to trigger in a given step in our process. So we are utilizing these tags to trigger different communications that are just different due dates or different expectations based on the type of client that we have. Now, we can even customize and create automated workflows for your like 990s and your C Corps, the ones that have a non-traditional year end date for their business. So that could be that they have a September 30th and year end, and that means that they have a different due date for their actual tax return. So we can even treat those guys right in the same pipeline without getting too wound up in like all these different pipelines. And it allows us to make sure that we're staying and working in one place. So I don't know about you, but when I'm trying to get a lot of work done, if I'm having to go out to 7 different places, I'm going to miss something. Now, I have ADHD, and if it's not in front of me, I'm going to miss it. So what we have found, or I have found, is the best way for me to work, and what we have found for many tax pros is to have this one pipeline. And so what we do, and you can see this here if I click on these lightning bolts, I actually have multiple types of communications that are going out. So here you can see that I am sending a message and I am sending a second message. One is built for my individuals and one is built for my business. Now, before I go any further, I want to also clarify for you that when you're thinking about operations, one of the most important and sometimes most difficult conversations that we have with the clients in workflows for tax pros is the idea of standardizing and generalizing your communications to your clients. This can be your actual communications about the expectations of how they work with you, your engagement letters, your packaging. When people get into creating very granular, specific, and kind of snowflake-esque almost solutions to their exact clients, they are putting a lot more work on their shoulders than they need to be. So when we're thinking about and have created this pipeline, while it can be customized to provide the snowflake experience, we want to encourage our clients to think more strategic by standardizing to allow them to be more efficient. Now, that means that you have to sometimes rework and rethink how you are operating your practice and the way in which you are servicing your clients. It doesn't change the way you serve them, but it does need to change the way in which you're communicating how you're serving to them, because we're all about moving away from that old way of working and moving towards a way that is more efficient, more effective, provides an excellent client experience, but not at the detriment of you or your team having to work longer hours to execute on kind of what you've always done, right? Because when we start working with people, a lot of them have a vision of something that's very different than what they have today. And so I digress, but I wanted to share that because I think it's really important as we go through here. You're going to see, well, you only have individual and business, but I have my 1065s, I have my 1120Ss, I have all of these different types of clients. How can I bundle them all together? Again, that's a shift in the way you're operating, and that is definitely part of the coaching that we do within Workflows for Tax Pros, is rethinking the way that you're serving your clients today. Okay, so here we have our messages. So what I am doing is I'm literally using the tags on my client accounts to trigger the proper message type, right? So if I have a business client, they need to have a business tag and a virtual tag on their account in order to trigger this message. That is all conditional logic is. So we're able to trigger that for a business, and if they have an E1040 tag and a virtual tag on the individual account, it will trigger the individual message. And so my clients get a custom experience. I get to have everything in one place, and it gets to be very streamlined and efficient and beautiful. Now, the other thing we can do is we can even serve our paper-based clients. The ones that have no email address, the sweet grandparents that you've been serving for 15 years that you still want to continue to serve, and you will always do their taxes for way too little, and you know that they're getting a really great experience because you know them, love them, and they trust you. Well, we can still serve those people right along our virtual clients who are using our client portal. And so the way that we do that is, again, through conditional logic. So we can trigger a task for our team to go and prepare the paper packet, and even have a queue set up to gather our paper clients into a queue to make sure that we get their documents. And it's all right here. Again, all in one place, because when we have it all in one place, no client can fall in a crack. So what does this do for you and your team? Well, by having all this information here, we can start to see bottlenecks. We can start to see laggards. We can start to see the clients that have, are having challenges. But it also allows us to see exactly where everyone is at. So if we need to go and find someone, we're not having to go into multiple places to find them or multiple places to find the cracks. We know that everyone should be in this pipeline. And thanks to TaxDome and their beautiful filtering function, I can answer this question that I know you have is, what if I want to only see my business clients because it's coming up on that March 15th due date and I want to make sure that I'm focusing on them? How can I do that? Well, you're in luck. So with the filters in the TaxDome pipelines, we can actually use those same tags that we're using to trigger the automations by putting a filter on. So I'm going to put my business tag on here, and it's going to filter out everybody that doesn't have a business tag on it. And so you can see here, I have one of my business clients who is sitting in my pipeline. So this allows me to clean up my view. And there's lots of other ways you can filter within the TaxDome pipeline to kind of reduce down to exactly who you need and want to be working with. And so I wanted to share with you what this pipeline has done for a small practice that we have worked with. And I want to share with you Sam's story. So Samantha came to us and she had a small practice. She is the solo practitioner and she had a team of 4. 2 are working towards their CPA, so that she is looking to sell the business to them in the near future. But she really wants to enjoy these last few years of ownership of her firm. And so she knew that she needed to do something. And so they implemented TaxDome and used it the first tax season. Didn't really leverage all of the things that TaxDome could do for them. They were using it as, a portal, document storage, electronic signatures, I think invoicing, but they were using it very basically. And they kind of tinkered with pipelines, but they didn't really fully execute on them. And so when they were building out their pipelines, they ended up with 5 different pipelines. They had their 1065, their 1040, their 1120S, their extension pipeline. They had all of these pipelines that their team was having to bounce around and identify where a client was at and how, did anyone fall in a crack? And so they came to Workflows for Tax Pros in early 2024, right before the tax season started, and they implemented our tax prep pipeline that you're looking at here. And they followed some of the best practice recommendations that we made. And one of those was, the client communication function, where we're much more proactive about what we need our clients to do. And they also implemented the automated workflow so that they were not having to manage and move people forward to keep them moving through their process. Because of the way we've structured this pipeline, all of the clients that move through these first 5 stages, this is the onboarding, it's all happening automatically. Now, we love a good communication. And so when we're communicating with our clients, we're telling them exactly what we need from them, what they're needing to do right now. We call it breadcrumbing them to success. And what this does is it allows us to make sure that they know exactly what we need from them, how they're going to get it to us, what the expectations on deadline are, and if there's any special information that they need to know about. Now, you might be like, well, that's a lot of information, a lot of communication. I'm like, yes. So when we can do that in the little bite-sized chunks, we can actually have them be more responsive, more compliant. That's the word I'm looking for. Compliant in the actual execution of the things we're asking them to do. Because we're not just giving it to them all at the beginning of the tax season. We're actually telling them step by step how to get this done. And so what Samantha and her team found is that they had a 40 to 50% reduction in inbound phone calls. People stopped calling them and asking, do you have my documents? Where am I at in the process? What else do you need from me? Where, are we moving forward? Because they were using the automation and the system was communicating for them. Now, the other thing that they saw is that they were so much more efficient in the actual execution of the work that Samantha was actually able to hand off a lot of things. She used to be the bottleneck, but she now, because of this pipeline, knew everything was being delegated. She knew exactly where the clients were at. So if she and her team needed to sit down and discuss a conversation, they were easily able to pop into a job card, see what was happening within that client's process, and be able to communicate even right within the TaxDome system. So they were opening up communications within the team, and they were no longer managing the emails that were bouncing around the office or the, hey, do you have so-and-so's forms or documents, that all went away because they knew everything was in TaxDome, everything, all the documents, all of the notes, all of the details, all of the things that they needed to do to execute. So when things were getting handed off between team members and finally to Samantha to do her review, there was no gap. And they were working so much more efficiently. They said they were actually saving anywhere from 10 to 15 hours per team member just because of that move. So I just wanted to share that with you as hope that you may be not fully utilizing your TaxDome system. And it's not because of, you or any, anything other than you just haven't seen the system that can actually transform your small practice. And so if you're interested and you're like, yes, I need this, I want this for tax season, I want to invite you to learn more about our methodologies within the Workflows for Tax Pros program. And I put together a short training that I walk you through like who we are, what we do, and how we help people. And I would love for you to pop over and check that out. You'll find the link below this video. And the intention is to give you more idea of how we can help you in your small practice to really maximize your use of TaxDome by installing the Workflows for Tax Pros system into your TaxDome system. I promise you, this is the ROI that you've been looking for from TaxDome. And it's not because of anything other than we have an operating system that will transform your small practice, that will give you an excellent client experience, that will help you to delegate more effectively to your team if you have one, but certainly operate more efficiently if you are a solo practitioner or if you are somebody who has a small team. And we have seen it again and again with 1,000 practices that we have helped. And I would love to help you do that for this tax season. So pop over. And if you have any questions, feel free to pop them below. I love answering questions, and I will come back and make a video specifically for you if you do drop that question. And until we see each other again, I look forward to helping you to automate your practice and wish you a beautiful day. We'll see you again soon.